We've all been there. That moment of panic when you realize you've left your charger somewhere. But where? Is it in your hotel room, your rental car? Wherever it is, your battery is dying, and now you're stuck. But now you never have to worry about leaving your charger behind with the brand new Charger Leash. It's preset to ring as soon as you unplug your device. The alarm helps to remind you to unplug your cord and take it with you, ensuring you're never on the go without power. It's also a great anti-theft device that alerts you if someone else unplugs your phone at a public charging station, at an airport or a convention center. Never get stuck with a dead battery again. Charger Leash.
Hello, hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hurrah!
Uh-oh.
Hello.
I see. She's going all spinny wheel right off the bat.
Are we alive in here? Oh, we
Yeah.
were alive. I don't know how alive we are now. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna kick us off because gotta put on my big girl pants. So obviously we have Carmen here.
Oh, there we
say
go.
hi, Carmen.
Sorry, guys. Skype crash, technical difficulties.
We have Patrick Scott Patterson, original PSP in the house.
Hello.
And we also have Paige.
Hi.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get into like our important news and announcements.
Hello, hello.
Hey, you're still not back. We still have no videos. I can hear you though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our important news and announcements. So we're gonna select the winner for the November LORT crate. We really want to thank all of the companies that donated to this month's crate. Super
Really?
generous.
Now I have video.
Excited.
How's that?
You're spooling. There we go. Yay! Really, Skype.
After all that, it is a difficulty as soon as we go live. I love it.
Yeah. It happens.
Glad to be here.
Nothing like live TV, ladies and gentlemen.
There you
Nothing
go.
Nothing
like
like
Skype. Mm.
I have no sounds.
You have no sound? Why are
Right,
you
can you go
shaking
on?
your head? Yes. We can hear you. You just can't hear us.
Oh,
there you are,
man. So
Carmen.
I have a little bit of a delay, guys. Sorry about that because my sound is now having an issue. But yeah, I've got sound, but it's 2 seconds later. All right, so Pixie, go ahead and mod. I'm gonna correct this.
Okay. So
Sign
I'm
language.
gonna go ahead and introduce our awesome guest for the night, Patrick Scott Patterson. So he's been playing video games since 1981. He's become the go-to guy for commentary on video game history, demographics, and controversial topics such as violent video games. He's often called upon in mainstream media and documentary films, and he also speaks to events nationwide, such as SXSW and San Diego Comic-Con. So,
Pretty
would
spot
you
on,
like
huh?
you want to share a little bit more about us? What did you start playing?
Well, the yellow fella behind me here, Pac-Man. That was the first video game I ever played as just a wee lad, and got hooked right away, and just started getting
Wow.
fascinated. And wasn't too long after that, I walked into a full arcade the first time, realized there's a whole lot more games like this, and just never left, man. Suddenly, I'm here.
Oh man,
Yeah,
do you the quarter lines? Were you in the quarter lines?
No, yeah, I mean, that's something that some generations don't realize now. Is we had to wait in line sometimes to play the popular games back then. You'd have to go up, you put the quarter on it, and you'd have to wait
Look
in
at you
line.
now.
to play a video game, you know. So it makes me laugh nowadays when I hear people play like, well, man, there's like a 2-second load time between scenes or whatever. I'm like, dude, I used to have to wait 45 minutes to play a game for 90 seconds maybe, if it was the first time I ever played it. So I mean, get over it. We used to have it a lot harder, trust me.
So we're gonna talk about a little bit of some funny stuff right now. So this is some original trivia for the fans. After Sony released a product called the PlayStation Portable, gained its nickname the PSP. So you had to change your gaming handle to the original PSP as a tongue-in-cheek reaction.
Well, it was kind of a joke, because I mean, back when I first started gaming, we didn't have gamer tags. We had 3 initials, and that's my initials. So PSP and hey PSP, and so yeah, I mean, it's like of all freaking sets of initials that thing could have used, I'm like, come on, man, really? And so, one of my friends was, kind of half joking about it, kind of didn't know if I wanted to act like, look at this, they did this is cool, or kind of, talking about it. And he's like, nah, well, you're the original PSP. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll just go with that, and, I mean, I altered it a little bit, tried a couple other things along the way, and just ended up going back to that, so it's kind of a fun story, but maybe someday they'll, that system will be so far in the past that nobody will think of it anymore. I'm still waiting to find someone whose initials are WII, who had to go through the same thing I did. Because there has to be somebody out there.
There probably is. Like, I can't imagine that there wouldn't be. like there has to.
Yeah, we're just playing the odds here, man. I'm not the only person that still games for that length of time from back then. There has to be. They'll really screw a lot of people up if they ever release a system called the AAA, because that guy's initials were on every game.
I just always use my last name
That
because
person needs
it's
to
3
just
letters.
tweet you.
Yeah, so you have that. My
Yeah.
name's so long, I can't even fit it on Twitter right now as it is. Like, it doesn't give me enough letters. So yeah, you got your last name. You're good to
Yeah.
go.
6 isn't a pen name. It's my real name, so it's always been easy for me, and it's a pretty cool one too. So I've never really had any complaints about that. But
Man, if I used the first 3 letters of my last name, I'd have Y. WHI. One
if I
letter
use
off
my-
from we. I'm really
If I-
upset about this
You're the
now.
closest I've found at this point officially, though. So
Yes.
Yeah.
there you go.
I win at life.
Yes.
So the I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm about to say, yeah, this is
That says a
this is
lot.
what it's all about right here. Yeah. It's
Pretty
historic.
much.
This is historic.
It says a lot about you, Pixie.
So if your initials would have been WII, please tweet PSP or myself or just the ladies of the Roundtable account and tell us so that we know if you've had the same issue, because I think that would be amazing. So the ESA report came out this week, and we now have hard data to support the video game industry has been growing at 4 times the rate of the U.S. economy. There are some interesting facts about it. The U.S. video game industry directly employs more than 42,000 people in 36 states. The U.S. video games industry value added to the U.S. gross domestic product, the GDP, it was over $6.2 billion. So our community is kind of one of the first to have the figure pointed for violent crimes in the U.S. So what do you think about some of this?
Oh, I mean, I think that these stats, they're out there, they're easy to find, and it's been trending up like this for a long time. So this is one of the things that makes me so mad when you get these politicians or you get these mainstream media talking heads and stuff that still act like video games are this little niche thing, and it's being played by a bunch of silly kids, and they don't know the difference between fantasy and reality and blah, 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 blah. And they don't bother to look and realize just how big this is and how, it does fuel the economy. I mean, you think about we got Black Friday coming up. Oh, God help us all. We got Black Friday coming up, right? How many dollars in just video games and video game consoles are going to go out the doors of retailers just on Black Friday? I mean, it's replaced the toy department now. You go into a Target or a Walmart, more people go to the electronics section now than go to the toys. Not like, it's gone It's electronics now, and video games. They're all over those things. And so, I mean, it's what I feel like I'm shouting at the moon, like, guys, they don't understand that video games are this gigantic thing, nor treat it like that. They just give it no respect and just dismiss it based on what they think it is.
It's true.
I kind
it's
of
not
agree
just a
that-
niche.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a niche page, because if you go to any retailer outlet that is not just a GameStop or a solely establishment that sells games, you go into Target, you go into Walmart, whatever those other stores are. How huge is the video game section now? It used to be you go in and you see this little shelf and you could pick up a couple of things. Now you go in and there's the whole console. There's all these displays. There's this huge section to be able to use the the actual what is it where you have to jump around and use the that I can't think of right now for the kids,
Kinects?
the Kinects,
the
yes,
demo?
for the Kinects, yeah.
The Kinects
You
and
you
the
got all this
demos.
space, and they want you to be in that space, and there's so much to choose from. Used to be, you didn't even have that when back in the day when we had CDs. There wasn't this much room for CDs, and music was the top thing. We've taken over.
Local to me, they actually replaced McDonald's playrooms with video game stations.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
inside,
mean-
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. This is what I talk about. Sometimes I'll use the tagline, video gaming is pop culture. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, we're about maybe half a generation or a generation away from video games being as commonplace as television. I mean, it's odd. You very rarely will find somebody right now that doesn't own a TV and will watch something at least once in a while. Video games are going to get to that point. I mean, right now you got the oldest generations, really the last generation. They're very large in number. The very kind of the last generation that really universally didn't get into video games. Eventually, time's going to pass, and that's what we're going to have. Because, I mean, when they say the average age of a video gamer is in their 30s, which has been like that for a long time, but yet over 90% of kids under 18 play video games. Just do the math and see which way it's trending. This isn't something that you do as a kid and then put down and forget, like the media likes to treat it a lot of the time, like the politicians like to treat it a lot of time. This is something that sticks with people, just like movies, just like TV, just like all of that did. This is entertainment that's universal. It's across the board now.
And it's a beautiful way to experience art firsthand. It's a way that you get to be immersed within the art and within the realm and within the fantasy in a way that you don't get with other traditional mediums that we widely accept as art. And I think that that's a shame. I think that it gets overlooked for how powerful it really is.
I agree with you there, because, I mean, you can get an awesome book, right? And you can reread that book and you can visualize it over and over again. The story is always going to be letter for letter the same. TV has gotten so quick and just so pop in and out now with commercial times and stuff. Well, a sitcom, I think, is 20 minutes? I mean,
realistically.
I mean, it's just quick, and you're out. Even an awesome movie, you got a couple hours in there and it's over. And again, it's the same movie every single time. You can play video games, certain video games, the way they're set up, you can play them for hundreds of hours if you want to. And they're going to be a little bit different every time. And even if you do play a story mode over again, you can do something differently. And it's always been that way, but now it's gotten to a point where it's developed to such an extent that, you're literally getting to interact with the art form, like you said. And there's no other form of entertainment that lets you do that. And I don't think there's ever going to be one that lets you do it to that extent. Sometimes they'll try, I've seen ridiculous things in TV and movies. They try 3D every now and then. I've even seen some stupid thing when I was a kid where they try to do like a scratch and sniff card so you just smell during parts of the movie and weird stuff like that. None of that's ever going to work. Video games are the only thing that's really going to immerse people firsthand and make it interactive.
And look at what's coming out into the next generation, the Oculus Rift. You know what I mean? Things like that. You talk about full immersion. People are paying. People want to pay for that. People are asking for that. The product is becoming not just we're going to sit at home and we're going to decide whether it's PC or console. It's how much further can we get inside that game? We want it. We're asking for it.
Yeah. As long as they don't use that as a gimmick. I mean, I've gone through this virtual reality thing before with those ridiculous headsets that would compress your discs in your neck, and stuff like that. And then trying it again. some of them are going to use a gimmick, but then I somewhat changed my tune a little bit at E3. There was a PS4 one, the street luge. That's quite an interesting way to use something like that. It was really quite a feeling that I was actually doing this. And that was quite an experience. So I mean, I'm hoping that with modern technology and the fact all this is lighter now, yeah, it's allowing for that, and won't be just a gimmick, but something that actually adds to a game.
We've got a lot of people in chat having conversation back and forth talking about, back in the day, the old arcades. Now they have the Dave and Buster's or the places like that where you can go in and you can still go in and put your quarter or, nowadays slide your credit card
GameWorks
to be able to play a game, and those are still thriving and still alive. So obviously we are correct that, the video game industry not only employs a lot of people, but we also are propping up the gross demographic of our country.
Yeah, and I mean
Definitely.
that, part of the reason though with arcades now is it's not really a necessary medium anymore.
It's
I mean,
not. It's like lands in a lot of areas. There's a land near me in Chattanooga, and the thing with lands is here they're not really necessary because people can afford to buy their computers and buy their consoles. Whereas in other parts of the United States, that's something where they're really successful. And so I feel like arcades in certain parts of the country succeed, whereas in other parts of the country they don't, because
well,
no one needs them.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is that now, I mean, back in the early days when arcades were everywhere, I mean, that was where the advanced technology was. That's where the true, really awesome play experience was. That's where the social interaction was, because you didn't have online. You didn't put on a headset and connect with people in a lobby from all over the world. That's where you had to go. But as times have gone on, I mean, like for my seat, I can go pay $59.99 and buy a game to play on my console. I own that game forever. I can get my money's worth, my entertainment value out of that. How far does $60 even go in a modern arcade right now? Most of those games, they're just designed. They're designed for quarter pumper, just for you to pump credits in and nothing else. But there are things, some things that fly under the radar. I think a lot of the Golden Tee and the Big Buck Hunter games over the years have had this thriving tournament scene. And competitive stuff. Like Golden Tee games are actually internet enabled now, where you can play in live tournaments from, like, let's say the bar arcade you're in against people from all over the area in the same tournament via online play out of that. And some people don't even realize that that's going on, because arcades now are seen as this quick in and out, pump your credits in and get out type of thing. And that's why I think the social scene is a little more. Some barcades do really well, but let's face it, really, it's the the drinking that's the draw, not the games. The games are just the kind of the atmosphere. So,
and it also depends on where you live.
Drink.
Well, and I think something that's really weird is in the age of being so connected, we're really disconnected. Like I don't go out a whole lot and like make buddies because all my friends are on the internet and we're all playing the same video game together. Like, I live in a computer chair and play in my little bubble, and that's fine. And I think that's something that is kind of a problem, is that that's what people are doing now. And so
you're saying you're missing the socialization in your gaming?
Arcade, but because you have this weird age of connectivity and disconnect with like actual society, you're not going to go and interact with people at an arcade like you would when because I made a lot of my friends at like crummy little arcades that were about to close down.
Well, but this is
unfortunately.
But this is where I think that the booming convention scene though is kind of helping replace that a bit, because, and it's something I strongly encourage, because I've talked to a lot of people that say, just like you said right there, where they know a lot of people between social media and who they play online with or whatever, but they don't actually really know these people. Get out and get to a live event, put faces with names and stuff like that. It's awesome because you're all drawn together there for the love of the same thing, and that helps strengthen those friendships and stuff. And I think that's part of the reason why the conventions are continuing to draw more and more and more, because you have these people that have this common love for something, and they want to get out and they want that social interaction, and this is where you get it now. You know, the LAN centers and the arcades, not so common anymore. So you want to come together for a love of gaming, or really for anything that's considered, you know, geek chic kind of, you know, comic books, anything, anime. You go out to these conventions and you meet, and some of these things have gotten just so huge, and they're awesome for that.
And you know, there's a something to be said about when you're in a game or playing an MMO, or you know, console, or you're in a headset and you're talking to someone and you make that connection with them over what you love. That's always exciting, and you're always like willing to want to engage. But there's a whole nother level. Scott's right. When you go to a live event and you find someone that you connect with, and it's just a total geek out. There is no other feeling in the world like going there and being with your people. And it's very inviting. There is some things that we see on the news. There's incidents that do happen from time to time, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be that way for you when you go. Don't let that stop you from going, because just get to one. It only takes one. It's like those Lay's potato chips. You get to one, and believe me, you will go again. And you now can take your kids. You can take, you know, I wouldn't recommend taking a stroller or anything like that because these things get crowded, but you can take your younger kids to be able to have a good time, show them what's going on. It's a family environment. There are panels and things that are directed towards your children to be able to have a family atmosphere. And you're always coming away with some kind of swag. There's something to take home for everybody.
Absolutely.
Lots of chatter going on. Ooh,
there is DreamHack Killer LAN. A lot of talk about the largest LAN events being in Europe.
Man, everybody's talking about they missed their LANs. I'm surprised at that, how many people missed their LAN. I really am going to have to delve into that phenomenon of, would you really just pick up your mid tower and truck it over to wherever you're going to go and plug that sucker in? You know what I'm saying? I have not seen that kind of environment in a long time, unless I'm at a convention when there's already there for me to sit down and compete.
There was a time when people used to do that with their Xboxes.
That's true.
Halo.
Yeah. Well, and now you don't even have to with
you don't have
events
to
like
anymore.
This. They have like it's not
built in. You can port your thing over.
It's the console with like a television built in, and all you have to do is bring your own controller and your own headset if you wish, and like, you know, all of these things are like advances in this kind of technology to help push in this direction. But really, like, LANs are incredibly expensive. For those who don't know, just like toting gear in space, it's huge.
So you guys think that this advance in technology, all of these things that are making it easy for us to stay home and stay in our caves, do you think that is detriment to the kids coming up behind us and playing games and making them less social? Or do you think that it's something that we're fine with and we're just going to keep rolling in? Go ahead, Paige.
There are studies that point in the direction that secluded internet and video gaming, particularly outside of RPGs tend to be outside of this bubble, tend to have a less empathy maybe, and could be more antisocial. But I think that the problem there isn't really the content, it's that there's not very much a balance in what they're doing. You know, people who spend 6 to 10 hours a day on a video game and they don't really interact with people on a social basis. They don't do sports, they don't do art, they don't hang out, they're not part of clubs, they're not playing games with their friends, board games. You know, I could see too how research would point in that direction. And I think that there needs to be more research done. I think they need to find out, you know, are these people already prone to these behaviors like they found in video game violence studies? You know, are these people, do these people have a history of anxiety disorders or something along those lines that would make them a little bit more prone to antisocial behaviors, or to things that would lack empathy or would lack kind of the things that we look for in normal social behaviors. But I also don't think that it's an alarming enough rate that any study is showing that you can blame video games for this. So.
Well, and I mean, something else you have to consider too with studies like this is you have to consider what games are people actually studying to find this information. Are you looking at like solo campaigns? Or are
Well,
you
this is
looking
too,
at like
yeah.
MOBA communities?
Well, they're talking about people that spend a lot of time using the computer, normally lumped in with that too. It's not just video games. It's normally
Okay.
just antisocial kind of secluded behaviors where you're not interacting with people face to face. So, and like I said, things like reading fantasy books and playing fantasy-based RPGs tend to be outside of that. People tend to actually be more empathetic, and they tend to be able to understand a wider range of emotions and personalities, which I think is also very interesting. And I think that's something that we should note, that content matters and balance matters when it comes to what your children are playing. And
Yeah.
no matter what you do as a parent, you need to pay attention to these ratings. You need to pay attention to what your children are doing, and you need to pay attention to how your children are interpreting what they are absorbing.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's for any media. That's for any situation. You know, that's part of being a parent. Part of growing up is learning how to come into the world and be a productive and a positive person.
Well,
Hopefully.
sadly, go ahead, Scott.
Well, see, I think you're touching on in what's the bigger issue, and it's one of the things that I try to
Definitely.
talk about out there in the media when I get the opportunity, because, you know, it's just like you nailed it. You know, I mean, it didn't used to be that parents would stick their kids in front of something as basically make that the babysitter or whatever.
Absolutely.
They would,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
they would be involved if, you know, I mean,
Parents, parent your kids.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So, you know, if you stick a kid and all that kid is stuck in front of an Xbox and nothing else all day long, well, of course that's going to be what influences them. But at the end of the day, nothing can influence a child more than a parent. That parent, those parents have to be there. And for some reason, that seems to almost be a gone concept. I think about, it was in Ohio a few years ago. This kid, he was an older teenager. He played his Xbox 360 for 40-something hours, collapsed due to dehydration, had to go to the hospital.
Oh my God! Yeah,
His mom was home and knew that he was doing this, saying, you know, he only came out every so often to go to the bathroom or something, you know, and then he'd just go back in there. And for some reason, this woman wasn't taken to jail for child endangerment or anything. Her answer was, well, I've learned my lesson. I took the Xbox out of his room, and I won't make this mistake again. Why were you letting your child do anything for 40-something hours consecutive in his room? I don't care if he was reading freaking Hemingway. You know, do your job as a parent and go in there and tell that kid he needs to get his food, he needs to get his rest, he needs to get outside and go do something. That she was just like, oh well, he'll just do that till he drops, and he literally did. She blamed the Xbox. The police blamed the Xbox. The media mentioned the Xbox, and everything went on. It's like, hello. You know, they always come, they never come to that. And it's like, it's about parenting. Bottom line, the end.
That rolls into the the Tax Reform Act of 2014, where they tried to sneak in an exclusion for the research and development tax credits to video game companies, and only video game companies, no other form of art or media, that create violent video games. But my Rayman Legends comes with a violence warning.
Like we wouldn't notice.
Yeah, I know. You're right. No,
Cartoon
they tried,
violence.
No, they did that. They tried to sneak that in. I believe that was a Republican proposal.
It was. This time it was Republican. In the 90s, it was the Democrats going after
it's the thing. This debate doesn't have red or blue. I'm just pointing out that particular time, because you get them on both sides. But yeah, and that's the thing. It's all about the labeling, and it's what I talked about before with the disconnect. I think years ago too, there was an Oklahoma representative, Will Forkiller, and he had proposed a violent video game tax, as he called it, and it was going to go to fight. The funds are going to a program to fight childhood obesity. So he's blaming video games for two things, and his definition and his proposal of a violent video game was anything teeing up.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was quick to point out, saying, okay, so he's going to fight childhood obesity by taxing video games such as Zumba Fitness Rush, Just Dance, Dance Central, stuff like that are rated T, and you know, without any research to back it up or anything like that. He got shot down. I mean, it's mass letter writing campaign. I did my part. I put out all his office phone numbers all over social media. It's hilarious. They had people say, call this guy. And right now, if you search Will Fourkiller and Google Images, like the third or fourth image is a Photoshop I made of him for that whole thing. I think that's funny. But, you know, it got shot down. But, I mean, they keep trying these things. They keep trying these things. And that tax reform thing would not only, you know, fall into all kinds of economy gray areas, like earlier on and talking about how big a piece of the economy it is. But think about what this is on a bigger scale. Video games, according to the Supreme Court of the United States, are a form of First Amendment rights. So you've got government officials trying to tax or regulate or take tax benefits away from something that's protected freedom of speech. That is a big deal. They're not allowed to interfere in something that's protected free speech. And they're trying to influence it using the tax code and warning labels and stuff like that. This is something, I know there's been a lot of things gamers have been outraged about lately.
Yeah.
This right here is, to me, should be the loudest thing
Number
that
one.
people are yelling about. But you don't hear as much about it. That's a big deal because they're not going to stop doing this unless we make sure they understand we're not kids. We're old enough to vote your ass out. We're old enough to have a voice. We're able, and we're going to use this. We are the ones who drive. We're driving this economy. Okay, so you know they need to listen to us and back off of our games.
Well, and I think some of that is. I mean, I think some of that's like, I think some of the issue with it is, in the most simplistic terms, it's growing popularity for gaming. I mean, you obviously want to take a piece of a pie. Pie is delicious. You always want to take a piece of a pie. But on top of that, you have people who were older who
they're using fear tactics,
playing games when they were, you know, as popular as they are now. And, you know, later on you'll see politicians who probably come to office who did play video games, who understand video games.
These politicians have been using these kind of fear tactics to villainize gaming for about 3 decades now. And not only that, but this goes back all the way to seduction of the innocent. Blame, you know, things that older generations don't understand in pop culture for the behaviors that they fear in younger people. It's just...
Well, and that's the thing. And that's the thing. Yeah, this whole thing's been going on since the late 70s. I mean, you know, Death Race, even Space Invaders. You know, there were cities and counties all over the country that would try to ban or tax arcades back in the day for reasons that they thought were crime and vagrancy and all this other stuff. And just, you know, things like this. And this history seems to be forgotten. One of the things that made me maddest about the Supreme Court case was how it was being reported. One news reporter, NBC National News, well, video games now are gone before the Supreme Court. And it's like, they did this in the 80s too.
Yeah.
The city of Mesquite, Texas versus Aladdin's Castle, where the city said an arcade has to be 18 and up. And Aladdin's Castle couldn't operate in the mall and do that. And they fought and they went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that video games were a form of protected free speech and that constitutionally the city couldn't do that. And the arcade won. All those years later, it's almost a similar type of thing and a similar type of result. It's like, did no one remember? No one even seemed to pay attention. This happened before. The same thing happened with comic books. The same thing has happened with rock and roll. The same thing has happened over and over and over.
And it's
it's not even just that. It's not even just that, though. It's like, what about other businesses producing books and movies and other forms of thematic violence or visual violence? What are we going to tax Hollywood every time they deny Hollywood a tax credit? Because they're not able to tax them. That's part of what they're trying to get around, to discourage them from making violent movies. Well, the
thing is, though, too, I think some of those politicians don't touch that stuff as well because those are forms of entertainment that they enjoy. No, that's forms of entertainment that they enjoy. And part of it, too, in time, this sort of thing is going to migrate. You're already starting to see it in some of the media. Not the majority, but some of it. I recently discovered somebody that works for the Dallas Morning News, for example, when there was the school shooting. And I'm monitoring Twitter, making sure no one's going after the video game thing on this. And yeah, I called out on there. Anybody sees media go off on this part of this, tweet it to me, let me know. And someone writes for the Dallas Morning News saying, hey, as long as I'm working here, you won't hear it from us. And I'm like, bravo to you. That's a pretty big deal right there.
That
But
is
it's
really
going to be
good.
a long time, because especially when you get up to Washington, D.C., I mean, some of the leaders up there, I mean, golly, they're so old. They were raised on marbles and those little wheel things you'd hit with a
Jacks?
stick. I mean, they were,
Yeah.
yeah, they were playing poker in saloons. They're so old. So, it's going to be a long time before that kind of migrates into that. And frankly, we can't wait that long. The way I see it, I'm not going to sit here, because like I've said, I've been gaming for 33 years and I've been hearing this sort of thing the whole time. That's more
Yeah.
than long enough. I'm not willing to wait another 33 years for those fossils to fully become fossilized and another generation to kind of move in there. And even right now, we've had as high as the vice president's office say that there's no reason why you can't tax video games. And it's like, yeah, there is.
Well,
There's lots
because
of
it's a
them. And
form of art.
well,
You
another one
can't
too
tax
is
one without the other.
another one
It's-
too is that we ain't gonna let them. That's the way I like
Yeah.
to look.
And you guys
No,
in
and that's a
chat, you
good
guys are
point.
listening to this conversation, and we're talking to you because you guys are the ones that are going to help make a difference. We could spout off all day long and tell you what's going on in your media and in your community, but if you guys are not outraged and or willing to support, it's not going to make a difference. These things are affecting your gaming, your passion, and your wallet. If all of that doesn't get you, your wallet, the bottom line is it's going to cost you, the consumer. So you really got to pay attention to these conversations that we're having, and hopefully help us out, because
Well,
we
Seriously, if I
really-
had to, I would go Story of Lady Godiva on the freaking Capitol building. Don't
Well,
even care.
but I mean, you got to think worst case scenario is if they did get in, and this is what the ESRB was actually kind of formed to prevent this from happening. I mean, anyone that's younger and maybe doesn't know this sort of
Yeah.
thing, go look up the Comics Code Authority and see what that did to the comic industry. It
I wrote
practically
about this
it
before.
practically killed it. Now think right now, where comics got to come back and that got opened back up again, and now they're going now. I mean, that's driving the entertainment industry, especially the movie industry and the TV industry right now, are these comic related things. That industry almost perished at the hands of regulating and making these
Yeah.
things decent and stuff like that because of this government pressure.
Well, and
And
people think
And now October was the highest selling comic book month since the 90s, I believe. Comics now are stronger than they ever were, and they have a lot of very deep, very dark, and very adult themes. And it seems to be to me that even with that, even with the facts that that they are adults,
they're
that
still sensationalized.
it's-
Yeah.
it's still it's not getting through to people that this isn't for children necessarily.
Yeah.
This is a form of art for a whole range of demographics to enjoy and to learn from and to embrace and to share and to feel things for.
and I think, and that's a thing, like some of the modern comics and some of the stuff and the video games, past, present, and the not so distant future. To me, 50 years from now, this stuff's going to be looked at amongst, or as classic stuff. It's video games. Some of the video games, the big hit video games that have come out already, are going to be looked at someday like I Love Lucy is right now, as this pioneering thing in a form of entertainment. Whereas at the time, nobody saw that as possible, but it happened, and that's what I see with this. But for it to get there and to be what it fully can be, it is up to all of us to protect it. It is all of us to fight for it. And I'll shoot from the hip here a little bit. This is where I got very, very frustrated over the past few months, because there's been obviously been a lot of heated debates about a lot of topics surrounding video games. It's like, hey, people are going to do that, and discussion can be good when it's, obviously doesn't cross some very thick lines. But how come when I'm fighting a politician or some talking head on TV that's trying to tear apart video games, sometimes I feel like I'm the only one yelling about that. And, to me, that's bigger than a Kotaku blog. Not to knock anybody, but I think this is the bigger fight, because if this fight gets lost, that doesn't matter.
none of it matters.
That affects
It
everybody on
doesn't.
both sides of that issue.
Like,
It does,
what do
but
you
you
mean,
also have to
Pixie?
remember that everybody has to be educated to be able to understand what the whole conversation we just had. If they can't digest it and understand exactly what we're asking of them to please speak up and be part of the community that you love so much and like you said protect it, and they're
Yeah.
looking at you like, why, what's
Well,
going
there's
on? I don't know.
this is
That's
gonna change
that's and,
generationally.
but that's at the heart of what I do. That is the
Yeah,
heart
being
of what I
ignorant.
try to do.
We need to.
Because, well, I mean, this is the whole thing. I get people all the time. Why do you put yourself out there as a personality? Some people laugh at me for it or poke fun. Some just question it. Some question the motivations. They don't understand why I can't just go be another blogger like 900,000 other people are doing. And it's because I looked at the TV and I looked at these things, and just like you're talking about, I didn't see anyone out there that was educating people and pointing out these topics and fighting for these things and trying to get that information out there to a video game public that's going to want to know these things are going on. So for lack of seeing someone out there to do that, or someone that can actually go on TV besides those talking heads, the bad comb-overs that have never played a video game in their life, that's like, for lack of anyone else doing it, I'll do this myself. That's what I put myself. This is at the heart of what I try to do, is because I want all of this, the stuff I enjoyed as a kid, the stuff my kids are enjoying now, all the stuff that came in between. I want this stuff protected and preserved so future generations can have it and love it and learn from it, because this is the history of what we love to do right here. We have to make sure it stays around for the long term, because no one's going to do it for us.
And we
And
all
if I'm
love those things like the movies that are coming out, because Hollywood has gotten stale and boring and old. So what do? They go back to this well time and time again. Comic books and video games. We've seen it over decades. So for us, we have to be able to be engaging enough, and we have to be able to be different in the aspect of the same old boring educational, go to school and we learn this and then you come out and you do this. No one's going to pay attention to you if you're spouting off that same stuff that you see on Capitol Hill, if you're spouting off the same stuff that you see in the newspaper. Well, we don't even read the newspaper anymore. On blogs, no one wants to read all that. You have to be able to be like you, Scott, be able to put it out there in the context that we consume everything else in our community. It has to be bright, bubbly, engaging, and right on the cuff with those hashtags, or no one sees it. It just goes rolling by, and it's so inundated with so much social media. Everybody saw the GG stuff that's out there, and everybody wants to look at all of that, but where is it when this tax law came up that anybody's yelling or telling? We don't see that.
You have all of these issues with video games. Like, you have all of these issues with people trying to blame video games for, like, every ill in the world, and television for every ill in the world, and comics for every ill in the world. And what they don't understand, because they've never taken 2 seconds to sit down and play a video game or to read a comic, what they don't understand is that video games and comics both do a lot of things for people. So there have been TED Talks on how video gamers solve the unsolvable problems.
Absolutely.
And how we are going to be the generation that fixes all of these huge issues in the world. And you have comics with comic book heroes who teach really important lessons. Like, as much as I don't like Superman, like, Superman saves everyone, no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter. You could be the biggest douchebag in the world.
And on top of that, though, too, even the ones that do take a few moments, there's been some of these people. Jack Thompson would play games for a little bit. Senator Yee, who, of course, basically turned out to be a real-life Grand Theft Auto character and got arrested. But, he would play some, too, and be like, well, we've experienced what these games are, and we've played them firsthand. It's like, but you haven't talked to the people who play them. You haven't gone to the conventions and seen what this culture is, and seen what all these people are at, and talked to these people. They're assuming that, oh, well, this right here is this thing. I mean, I've seen so much of this. Years ago, a local news channel here, Duke Nukem Forever was coming out, and this was before we knew what the game was like. It was coming out, and that's a local studio, Gearbox, so they were covering it, and they took footage. They took the trailer for Duke Nukem Forever. They showed the trailer of it to someone who works at a local rape crisis center, and got her reaction to it. That's all she knew of it is what she saw in the trailer. And they had me on the counterpoint, which of course I got nervous when I found this when it came on. I'm like, wait, I'm counterpointing who? Luckily they didn't go that way. They could have spun that bad, but they that's all this woman was basing it off of, was demonizing it based on I think a 2-minute trailer. And no idea what this thing was about, no idea what this thing was going, and it was being blamed for these things. And it's just, they need to do that, and that's just the problem. Is that like I said before, some of these things will come eventually. We've getting some great allies. We got Jimmy Fallon has a Tonight Show. That's huge for gamers, because he's a big gamer. So's the Roots crew. He's already integrating video gaming into the show. He's had Mike Tyson play Punch-Out. He had Pierce Brosnan. He challenged him to play GoldenEye. He's integrating video games in there as just a normal piece of pop culture and entertainment. But we can't sit around and wait for this slow burn to happen, because as it sits right now, while the majority of Americans play video games, the top people that are on television producing television news, and the anchors and these top politicians are not part of that generation. They're the ones with the platform. They're the ones with the power. And we have to fight against that.
Fight the power, absolutely. Man. All right, so guys, let's roll into features, because I know for all of us sitting up here, we could be talking this all day, and I think that the people in the chat are really being generous and engaging with us and having a great conversation amongst themselves. I think you guys are awesome in chat. You guys are doing great talking and actually listening to what we're telling you and being appreciative of the knowledge that we're throwing down. But I think we need to talk about some things that were going on this week that obviously affected a majority of people in the room and or people in the chat. And we can start off with Paige. I know you were talking about the World of Warcraft launch for Draenor, right?
Yeah, Blizzard confirms that World of Warcraft is a target of a DDoS attack. This week was meant to be an exciting one for Blizzard and World of Warcraft players, but yesterday, the Warlords of Draenor's expansion launched, bringing it with a new number of features that may have lapsed subscribers. So maybe I'll go and play for a month, and I'm just saying several, but the launch was overshadowed by a US massive DDoS, unfortunately.
Are we surprised?
I don't understand some of the trolling that's been going on lately. Like the SWAT attack that happened to who was it? Was it a League of Legends owner, or there was a SWAT prank played on somebody?
Yeah,
and
it was a player.
It was this DDoSing is huge right now, and I don't know if it's because people find it particularly easy or if it's or if it's what. But
it's one of those things
kind of
back in the
getting
day
out of hand.
You used to hear about people being hacked, or their credit card number stolen, or their social security, the identification theft. It just became this widespread thing because people had the knowledge. And I think that's what I feel is going on. The knowledge is there. The education is there, because obviously people are going to school for coding and everything. And just because they can, they will. Which is sad. Which is sad.
Is a little bit less, I think that it's a little bit less vile than hacking somebody's credit information. But still, it's definitely inconvenient, and it puts a damper on the community. Who are you hurting by doing that? You're hurting people that want to play games.
And the people who the people who worked hard to make these things and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, of course. So,
and
you're definitely putting a strain there.
So why don't they use that energy and go make something rather than try to tear something?
Use your superpowers for good, not evil.
There you go,
man. Come on.
With great power comes great responsibility, guys.
Just saying. Yeah. There's lots of things that we want to be able to fight against in the general populace and mainstream media, And attacking each other should not be one of them. We're only
Amen.
fueling the fire of showing
Seriously.
everyone what they're saying we are. So why not show them that gamers can do good? Why not show them the collective of what we do as a whole? Extra Life, Child's Play, those kinds of things should make you feel proud and want to be engaging in your community and not DDoSing
Definitely.
each other or crashing a server because you want to see your friend make server first versus someone else make server first. It's just really getting out of hand. And for us gamers that are old school, Scott, you and I know what we're talking about. You know, it really is not hurting us because we'll just go play something else. That's not going to stop me because WAD was down for 4 hours. I'm going to go play. What were you playing? You were playing some basketball the other day, Scott, right? If I'm not mistaken. Playing on your console. Had a good time.
Playing some football. Yeah, I mean, and that's but I mean that's the thing. You hit it spot on. I mean that's what it is. I mean it's why infight and screw with everybody inside of it when
Because we all need to measure the size of our e-peen.
it comes
You
off
think?
like that sometimes. I
No,
personally, a lot of that stuff confuses me. I don't understand the whole idea of it. I don't know why. I just want to sit down. I mean, this one of the things that hooked me on console games is when I was young was just the fact that I could come home at the end of a hard day and I could sit down, I could put a game in. I might have to blow in the cartridge a couple times or something, but I just sit down and play. I didn't have hoops to jump through. And, there's already enough hoops to jump through now. I've got to install what now? I've got to update this. I've got to, whatever. I just want it to work. I think I've earned that. I work hard, and I think that most people do. Why take the enjoyment of it away from other people? Go build something rather than destroy it. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's not logical to me.
You're right. You have hard-earned
Unfortunately, I
money.
think that's human nature. I think our nature is to build things and then kind of destroy them.
I agree
guess.
when it comes
But
to
that's from
when
a
it comes to that
psychological
basic nature.
perspective.
I think that we've come so far as human beings and have such an education from the time that you were born, hopefully if you're being parented, to the time that you get into kindergarten or whatever, that there's no reason for you to build and destroy. There's reason for you to build, engage, understand, and then make better. And that's what we want to do within our community. Not build and destroy. Build and destroy gets us where? Nowhere. Back to square one. And then the other people that are on the outside fringe who say that we are different, we look funny. Why are we still in our basement playing a game or whatever it is that we're doing, or rolling some dice, D20s? They're still looking at you crooked. We're just giving them more reason to say that we are not mainstream.
Well,
But we are.
but not only that, but also too. I mean, if our game studios and stuff like that had to spend less time fighting against things like that, maybe we wouldn't have games that are broken or unfinished, or maybe we would have things faster. Yeah, maybe those resources could go, because I've heard some people justify it like, well, this happened to this company and that makes me laugh because that company put out a game that was buggy. And it's like, well, maybe the game wouldn't be buggy if they were able to spend their time and resources on polishing a game instead of fighting the last time that happened.
Right.
Time is money.
Absolutely.
Time is money, and if you want a better game and you want things to go better, and you want things that are well developed and well scripted and have a nice plot and have beautiful graphics and that play well and have interesting mechanics, you can't sit there and fight against them. You can't sit here and steal time from game developers by bitching about, oh, so and so said or so and so did. You have to let them work. Because ultimately, if you're not letting them do their job, they're not going to get anything done. It's like having a little kid tug on your pants every 10 seconds. Stop it!
Hey, I'm a
kid.
father of 2 kids, and yeah, it's amazing how many things I run across online that the first thing it reminds me of is one of my kids throwing a hissy fit. Just saying.
Yeah, there's some chat going on.
I think that people have a right to throw their hissy fits and whatnot. I mean, that I don't think that people complaining on Twitter is an excuse for somebody to put out, a $60 game that has extreme amounts of bugs or that it's clearly.
No, but we're talking about when they take it to that next thing,
yeah.
though, when they're calling in, bomb threats to the airport,
Yeah,
or doxing them or DDoSing and then that sort of thing. It's just like, Jesus Christ, or you're calling their homes and stuff. It's like, let them be, man. Let them go do their thing. Well, I mean, let them do their job, and they'll be able to give you what you want.
But there is a standard that, I'm a mother, Scott, you're a parent, Carmen, you're a parent. I don't believe you're a parent, Pixie, but maybe you have little sisters, there's brothers, but there is a point too where when you got a job to do, you have a job to do. And I think that these companies, particularly AAA companies, do need to be held to a standard where they put out games that are what they say that they are. You say there's going to be a feature in there, you put that feature in there. You don't put that feature in there, you don't neglect it and then charge somebody for DLC. You don't put out a game where people's faces aren't in the game, where there's a woman kissing some disembodied mouth and eyeballs.
I think one of the answers to that, though, is to take away some of the pressure to put certain things out by deadlines rather than games ready.
No, I could definitely agree.
Because, I mean, we're going back, we can go all the way back to the fall of Atari for examples of how bad that was. Because
games are getting bigger than they ever could have been, imagined they could be.
But you go back in time to even like the fall of Atari, and games like the Atari Pac-Man and E.T. stank so bad because they were giving impossible deadlines to create a game.
They're ruining our industry with that.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing now. Where they're like, okay, they're announcing this game has to release on this date at this time period, and then they're not giving them enough time. It's like, to me, I would rather. That's what I'm saying. I would rather see because in the movie industry, any studio, any reputable studio, or any reputable director, is if the movie isn't working as it's cut, they're gonna do something to it to make sure that it does. They're gonna if they gotta delay that movie to make it right, they're gonna delay that movie to make it right. Or any musician, any musical artist, same thing. But with these games, it's like, no, it's got to come out in November, or it's got to be fourth quarter this or whatever. This is their big thing, and it's like they're given this impossible test. I don't mind if they bumped a game up to make sure that they had the time. I don't mind waiting.
People are going to complain no matter what, but I definitely think that overall, gamers who want to play quality games and who want to support the industry, they're not pirating, they're not hacking. These people are willing to get a month of a pushback date so that the game comes out like they said it's going to. And I definitely can see that.
Well, we're going to understand that nothing is ever going to be perfect. Like, at some point, someone is going to find a glitch in a game. It's going to happen.
That's not the same as being broken,
You're doing tons of code. Like, it's a fact.
Levels. It's like falling through levels and having people, be disembodied.
Yeah, exactly. And if that's the issue, push it back. If you, find that, occasionally, one in every, 400,000 attempts, you glitch into a wall and you have to go back to your most recent save point.
Well, that's going to happen. But I'm talking, I even think back a few years ago, though. I mean, if I find a glitch within moments, then I have to question. There was a version of NCAA football a few years ago that I discovered a major glitch on the third play that could break the game, and it's like, and I figured out how to do it a few more plays later. It's like, okay, if I figured this out that quick, and I'm not even sure how the new controls work yet, then that does make me question the R&D. That does make me question the play testing, because if I found it that quick, then they should have been able to find it that quick and fix it.
I understand that also with indies, it's not going to be as easy. But for a AAA title where you are paying a AAA price and you have, all these resources at your disposal and you have the pull to be able to say, hey, I'm sorry, but we want to give you quality over time restraint. I think that that's completely fair. And I also think that we're not making PS2 games anymore. These games are bigger than they ever could have imagined they would be, and they grow immensely every year.
You guys have to really understand that there's also two sides to this coin when you're talking about development. And a lot of people that are making these games are not the decision makers of when the date goes out to put the game out and publish the date.
No, they're not.
So you really,
No, but they need to be. There needs to be
You wanna-
pushback to say, look, we
How are
want
they-
we want games that are complete, and we want games that are tested
Paige,
properly, and we want
as a
quality.
person, hold on,
I've spent-
I'm gonna mod right now. I'm throwing the mod hammer down. So from a perspective of a person that's working at the studio as a developer or someone who is actually coding or programming the game, I want to keep my job. I'm not pushing anything except for what I'm supposed to be pushing out in my cubicle. Then two, as a consumer, you can say on your end personally that you want this to happen, but if no one else is pulling that train with you, it's still going to come out when it comes out, and it's still going to have whatever the bugs are that are in it. You have to realize that we're an instant gratification society here today, and everybody gets on their high horse and on their social media and on their Twitter, and they cry about it. It's late. How come it's not out?
People aren't going to be pre-ordering.
Oh, they're pre-ordering?
No, but they're going to stop. If they keep on making games like Unity that are going to be broken and where they're withholding reviews until 12 hours after so that people don't know what they're getting into, they're going to lose that loyalty. And they will lose that loyalty. And it's important that that is maintained to keep this industry growing and strong. You know,
I agree. We want the quality. We want the quality to go with it, and that's why the indies are getting. That's why indies are getting huge right now.
Yes,
because people are getting tired of having these types of issues.
And things like Skyrim, where you put it in the fans' hands, you give them the dev kits, and they run with it. People love that.
Agreed.
You know, like that's okay
but
too.
But not everyone loves that. I don't love that. I'm a big MOBA gamer,
well, I don't think
that's my concern. Is like, I want a game that I can play where I don't lag all the time and where I don't disconnect from the server and have to reconnect only to find that I'm dead and I'm fed gold to the enemy team. And the thing is I've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of these developers, and the biggest thing that they say is sometimes there's nothing they can do. Sometimes things are literally embedded so deep in the code that to get to it, you have to break apart the entire game.
Unfortunately, that would probably reflect badly on a AAA title, though.
I think that you got two different.
It really depends on how bad the glitch is or the problem is naturally.
But exactly, if the glitch is 1 in every like 400,000, somebody goes into a wall and can't get out.
About that stuff. People do.
People complain about every glitch.
People complain about the color shirt I wear sometimes, but you know. People are going to complain about lots of things, but there's a difference, and I want to make this clear, between putting out a game that is incomplete and putting out a game that is completely broken, or putting out a game that doesn't include things that you promised would be in the game, or putting out a game that doesn't match fabricated footage that you advertised the game with.
That one.
You know, and that's a huge issue, and that's going to lose loyalty. And, you know, I think that is important to note, and that is something that developers and creators and the people funding these projects need to take seriously, because it's so integral to a virtual experience where people are immersed that they don't get broken at it.
And I mean, my big complaint with that is the game Destiny. Like, it's supposed to be this big, expansive world. It's
missing a lot of what it said.
Like, the drops are bad. You don't ever really get anything good from the drops. And that's a problem. And you're going to lose business.
You want me to tell you how that problem is being solved by us as consumers? I can tell you right now, because I have made it a point to make
money.
Great friends with my local game stores, to be the fly on the wall when there's releases, and be in there when there's certain incidents that happen between customer and source. For example, how many copies of Destiny do you think went back to be sold back to certain retailers over the past week, 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Or actually within the first week of playthrough because they got done with it in 10 hours. That's what's happening.
Well, also another thing too, though, is that takes things out. I mean, like my biggest gripe against Destiny and Titanfall, for that matter, as well. Why can't I play local multiplayer? You know,
that's a fundamental question. You're right.
I want to sit on my couch and play co-op with my wife And they've made this decision going, well, we don't really want to put the split screen and type of, hey, look, I want to play with her here. It's ridiculous in Destiny that I can play with someone halfway across the globe, but I can't play with somebody halfway across the couch,
Yeah.
and it's like, it took a game, it took that from a game that would have been destination gaming. It would have been something that we would have played every night for on and on and on and on and on. It's something that got very short playtime because it didn't have in one of the key features that would have made it a game to come back to. And unless that's in a sequel, I don't know. Now I'll get all paranoid with like first person shooters, wanting to know, make sure, is it local? Does it have local co-op? Why is that even a thing? I mean, that's, to me as a consumer, that's going to be the difference between having that game and playing that game for 500 hours or playing that game for 500 minutes.
I think that's the same issue with MMOers as well, or PC gamers, because we want to be able to we want to go through the campaign, we want to be able to do the story, we want to have the lore, we want to be able to be engaged, and there's games that have taken that out as well. Well, I'm saying, for example, he was talking about console,
Call of Duty.
The problem with that is, Call of Duty doesn't have multiplayer on PC. It doesn't have zombies and all that with multiplayer, which is really horrible because I love those mini games. We tried to play Borderlands 2 with my boyfriend on local multiplayer through the PC, and due to digital rights, they want us to both buy 2 separate versions of the game to play next to each other, split screen on the same computer. But if we were playing on a console, that wouldn't be the issue. And, I think that they definitely backlash against PC gamers for wanting to play locally. You could use a controller, you could play split screen. I have a bigger screen for my computer than I do for my television. So, it's really a shame, and I think that that's something that needs to get brought back, and I think that that's where Nintendo is playing their cards right. They're not making a mockery of family gaming, and they're not making a mockery of local multiplayer.
No, they're not, and they're encouraging things that should happen. Bringing in the family to play video games so that parents understand video games are not the devil.
Absolutely.
Okay? Like foosball may be the devil, but video games aren't.
Oh, what a boy reference. I love it.
And
all right. I'm going to move on to the next topic because we will be stuck on this one for all day. Like I said, we got to cut ourselves off. It's like drinking. We're like having booze over here. So I want to talk about Cassie Cage and Mortal Kombat. Is anybody keeping up with Mortal Kombat lately? You guys in the chat, let me know if you're interested in go ahead. Well, with her change in general, costume, her face. There was a Instagram photo that was put out today, and some video on the new look of how she looks, and people are really having a fit. They're talking about she's got a butter face, and she looks like crap, and they're all up in arms and talking about her appearance of how ugly she is. And I really find this fascinating. I mean, NetherRealm released this clip today, and it's just got eaten up on their Facebook. I found it fascinating how, first of all, we get everybody is over-sexualized, and there's a problem, and now they're chasing after Cassie, poor Cassie, because she's not so sexy. She's just an average looking girl. So now they're like, damn, she's ugly. Get her off of there. What are you ruining my game for? We can't win for losing.
Married to that. Mortal Kombat has been married to that 90s style hypersexualized female form. And the creator never really made apologies for that. It wasn't catered towards women, and it comes from a different time. So I never really had a serious problem with that. But I was happy to see that they were changing it up a bit, and that they were trying to be more sensitive and more keep up with the times, and to adjust to a broader demographic and ultimately a better profit.
Now, every comment that I read today was male. Sorry,
I'm
Scott.
gonna go somewhere like really bad with this and say, in all honesty, like, I think there are times we worry about being politically correct a little too much.
Yes, Serenity, you're right. We don't care what she looks like. We care about the skills that you have in the game and whether she can be a playable character. That's what we care about.
Well, that's true. But, like, sex sells, and,
I don't think
Sex
she's
sells.
ugly, personally.
I think sex
I
sells
don't
to
really.
a point. Sex
And
sells
for
to
me,
a point in a
like-
generation. It doesn't sell to everyone because for me, I'm not gonna buy a game just because the chick's got a push-up bra and her ass is hanging out. I'm buying a game because I want to play
I
it or I
will.
want to share it with
Ding
my
ding,
kid.
I'm gonna.
Sex doesn't that comment is so sexist and ageist for you to say that sex sells because it doesn't apply to everything that it happens to be in our generation. Now that's part of the problem with what's going on in our industry is people still
But
think
you have to think, for
sex
me,
sells.
sex does sell.
That's because
It's
you're 22 years
definitely-
old or
there's
whatever your age
definitely-
demographic
I'm 25, and let me tell you what,
25.
I am a person. I have wants and needs and desires.
But does that make up you as a whole when you buy
No,
your
it
game?
doesn't.
It does not.
doesn't.
So therefore,
But
you
it
should
doesn't
never
mean that,
pigeonhole yourself.
No, I
If
mean,
I like the game and there's a little bit extra for me, that like, I think that's a bad thing.
well, I mean,
I think
I think mileage varies. I mean, from my seat, I mean, let's take the non-video game route on this one here. Most fascinating piece of news to me all week was the fact that Mankind landed on a comet.
Mhm.
What's the most talked about thing all this week? Kim Kardashian's big old booty.
Ass. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in a way, so you could argue there, sex sells. We land on a comet, and you know,
But that doesn't mean that
that's
it's
the thing
necessarily for
everyone's
the
talking.
better.
I know. I'm
know,
not saying that it is.
Yeah,
No one. I don't
no.
think I don't think anyone said it was
I
for the
had a
better.
huge-
I just
a
think it's
huge-
kind of a point here about that got more attention than
I
this
had a
great
hugely popular
achievement.
article from it. From,
Thank you,
about
the
nudity in
Laploaf, or
art.
Method. I'm sorry for the follow.
It's definitely. I had a huge article about it, and did very well about nudity in media representation. And I'm not against nudity or provocative nature in most things. I don't think that it's necessary in most things, and I think that it even takes away from some movies and games. You know, it becomes a gimmick rather than a necessary or an intriguing part of the story or the style. But
Unless
I
you're
don't
talking
think that
about
you should-
some anime, and it actually works, which is surprising because I am not an anime person, and sometimes I will walk past my husband watching something, and I have to stop and be like, what the hell? Oh, wait. Okay, 2 minutes in, I'm like, that makes sense
yeah.
because of the culture. But I wouldn't put my child in the room for some of those shows because she would not understand walking past the TV and take it a whole different way at her age of being a
I
teenager.
think that, you know, it's important that we introduce children to, you know, healthy ideas of what normal people
or
look
other
like
cultures
and
are
act
doing,
like. And I do have a problem with the idea that nudity is only acceptable with a certain kind of person, a certain kind of look, a certain kind of
Image, yeah.
sexuality. I don't think that that's true. And if you look at, you know, even what people look up with in pornography, that's not true. You know, it's just people like normal people. People like, you know, the girl next door. People like the guy at work, you know, and I think that we're doing a huge disservice when we say that, you know, only a certain kind of sex sells. I think that interpersonal relationships, and I think that people are attracted to certain things for totally different kinds of reasons, and that you're largely alienating a huge group of people when you think that it's only one way.
Well, you know,
or the
that's
other.
if you're talking about the reality and the everyday consumption is not the same. What we get in the media is not what you're talking about. And that's not
I'm
what our
saying
kids
that
see.
it needs to change. There needs
Yeah.
to be a more well-rounded representation all around. And I don't think that you should abolish any of it. You know, save for like children in these kinds of situations. I don't think that you should have to abolish old school kind of Mortal Kombat and Double Dragon kind of video games. But there's room for more than that.
You know what?
No, there
The goes back to that
I don't-
parenting thing and the game rating. You
Yeah.
have to monitor what your kids are doing, what they're seeing, and what you're approving them to bring home. And if you're just looking at the box, that's not going to tell you. If you're just looking at the you know, your what your friends, they say their friends are playing, that's not going to tell you. I think you're right. There's a place for those type of games in everyone's household. It's how you manage it inside your household that makes the difference.
And
Yeah.
you know, the thing is you know, something I say is like I don't think objectification is right in any capacity, be it like objectifying men or women, but it happens. Like we do it all the time. We walk into the grocery store and somebody looks nice
We want to
and we
move
look
away
at
from
them.
that, though. I think that as a culture, we want to move towards at least healthy, and normal people want to move towards the healthy thing is the normal thing. I think that we want to be promoting healthy attitudes, and we want to get rid of these kinds of illnesses. We want to get rid of eating disorders. We want to get rid of depression. In a perfect world, obviously, this isn't a perfect world, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. But me personally, I don't want to strive to abolish things, but I want to strive for a cultural shift where people reach for the healthier thing.
Do you want to shift towards a stabilization and normalization? You want people in video games who look like real people. And I think part of the problem is that people don't want that. I don't think a lot of people do.
Though.
So I think it's cultural, but I think it's a long way off.
They don't have to be normal. They don't have to look like photorealistic. But I think that there is room for other areas to be explored than just aesthetics.
Well, I think, Paige, you have a point. Pixie, you both have a point. And I think that it's showcasing in the way that the games are being designed now, with being able to have the extra ability to create your character how you see it. So I do think that you both are valid.
I think that
developers are hearing that.
Them.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's kind of the thing is, I think developers ultimately, they want to make money, and so they throw out what they think people want. And I think in some cases, people want something a little more normal. And I think in some cases, people are like, I want my video game to be my fantasy.
It's normal to be healthy. It doesn't. You don't have to have. You don't have to have an over-sexualized character or objectification, or in some cases abuse, to have things that are unworldly and extraordinary. You could still step out of negative things and still have really beautiful and really scary experiences without harming, the way that we view each other. And
so that's where indies come in. That's where the indies come in, guys.
Definitely.
We can all agree on that. That's what's coming up in the next generation of gaming. The indies are bringing back those things that we all, again, I'll go back to family-oriented games, immersive games that are being able to let you create your play style, your character in your own image, and being able to listen to what the consumer wants to be able to have that next DLC be just right. And then also having the ability to give you feedback right off the bat and not be trolled for it or told that we don't want to hear what you have to say. And if you guys in the chat have not taken a look at some of those indies that are out there nowadays, you really need to go look. There's such a vast majority of great things out there that you may not even be aware of, that are away from the mainstream console, or PC games that we call AAA or whatever the case may be. I think that this is a great opportunity for gamers. We have come such a long way and away from so many different things, and we've overcome a lot of things, and we still have some things to go. But again, it takes all of us to do it together, and that's why we have these debates back and forth. You don't see anybody arguing or shutting each other down in a way that's aggressive and just outright rude. We're able to have an intelligent conversation and express our viewpoints, and you guys in the chat are doing it as well, back and forth, and we're all having a good time doing it. I think that we're going to move on to Pixie's next topic because we're rolling a little late this evening, but I really want to get to that November LORT crate that's going to be given out here shortly because we got a bunch of stuff to give away. I got to go over to the FedEx or the UPS and just let it go. I've been holding on to it for 15 days, and I really want to open some stuff. I'm trying not to, guys. I promise. It's not for me.
All right, so do we want to roll into features, or do we want to run through my real quick hot topic?
Let's roll into our new game. I'll let you go ahead and read that because I made this game specifically just for Scott in mind. I think it's fun. We had a lot of good times with the Halloween show. We did some trivia and the fans seemed to like it. You guys can play along in the chat. So go for it, Pixie.
All right, so we're gonna play this new game called Real or Fake, where we're gonna describe a celebrity or a video game or a phone app, and we want you to tell us if it's put out via the celebrity or it's like real or fake. So we're gonna see about it. So Hank's
So we're gonna let
writer.
Scott answer these.
Hold on a second. I got a dog over here that's trying to get at something and
Uh-oh.
trying to stop him. Okay, there's a bowl of
Aw.
popcorn left on the floor there, and I didn't want him to turn around and he'd have eaten the whole thing.
All right.
All right, so
Oh,
you got
right.
the rules? You got the gist of the rules, Scott?
Yes.
All right.
Awesome. Okay, so we have the Hanks writer. Tom Hanks has debuted his new app, which is totally pointless, but also awesome because it allows users to mimic the sound of something we don't want to. It's ancient technology known as the typewriter on an iPad. Real or fake?
Doom, doom, doom. The music.
I want to say fake, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I think
that
I'll
your
have to
final
go with
answer?
that. Yeah, I guess I'll have to go with that. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong on that one, though.
It is in fact real.
Yeah.
And
So
made by
you
Tom
can
Hanks.
officially buy this on your iPad and pretend like you're writing on a typewriter.
All right. 0 for you, my friends. Paige, read the next one. Let's see if we can get the next one right.
I'm lost on this sheet here.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay, cage everything. Show me where it is.
Yeah, you're right.
The
Cage
app is-
everything.
Cage everything will add your favorite actor, Cage, Nicolas Cage, to every person's pie. Almost any face. Anyway.
It's every person's picture.
Picture, yeah, it's
Yeah.
red pie. Picture almost any face. Oh man, did you make me read that because you know how much I hate Nicolas Cage?
I did because I know how much you hate Nicolas
I
Cage.
have pictures all over my Facebook of like memes of Nicolas Cage. I can't stand that guy.
So you wouldn't buy this app and put Nicolas Cage all over your friends' faces and all,
No,
anything
But
in
I
your...
guarantee you that the people close to me watching are downloading it right now.
So what do you think,
It's
Scott?
real.
I could totally picture that being real.
You're wrong again. That one is not. It's an app, but it's not put out by Nicolas Cage.
Oh, can
So,
I please read the next one?
Oh, I almost was relieved that wasn't real, but now it. Yeah, no.
You can read the next one, Pixie. Go
Somebody
ahead.
in chat actually owns the Hanks writer. Oh my
Really?
God. Yes.
For the
I just
win.
read that.
Who is it? Who owns the Hanks
There,
writer?
Bravo. So next we have
Wow.
Shatoetry. The app is exactly what it suggests. Poetry with William Shatner. Available for iOS and Android, users can choose words of varying intonations, recorded by Shatner, and string them together to create a bizarre Shatner-fied poem.
I would have to say real because Shatner's never been shy about trying to make money with anything he can. Not that I have a problem with someone that's like that, but that's why using that logic, then yeah, I want to say that's real.
Ding, ding, ding!
Does anybody in the chat own that one? That sounds like something you have.
No, has anyone? In
I'm
the
seriously gonna go buy that.
Yeah, has anyone here taken a shot yet?
Have you taken a shot at it?
All right, the last one is Take My Number. Okay, so players basically do two things. They earn points by clicking on these groups of falling guitar picks, and this is a Melissa Etheridge app. Maybe not, while also trying to remember your phone numbers inside of your phone. So you're matching the guitar pick up with the phone number that it belongs to. Real or fake?
I need that for my own phone number.
People don't memorize phone numbers anymore. I'm gonna have to say fake.
It's actually real. It actually just launched last week.
Well, no one's gonna buy that.
That will be a challenge.
And but they're saying that they did it for educational purposes, using the right side of your brain, and you're training yourself to memorize phone numbers. And I'm like, really, who memorizes phone numbers in their freaking phone anymore?
I got enough things to memorize. I'm glad I don't have.
Someone in chat just bought Shatoetry.
Here's the thing.
We get a royalty for that?
Even when I was young, I didn't memorize phone numbers so much as I had we just wrote them down on sheets of paper. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I got enough stuff to remember.
And that, this particular one I happened to come across, it is free to a certain point, but if you wanted to be able to do more than 3 numbers in your address book, you got to pay $2.99. Wow, whew. I don't know about you, but that's a little too much education for me for one day trying to memorize all of the phone numbers in my phone book. I think I'll pass on that. The only one that I saw that I may even remotely want to get is the Cage Everything. Personally, I could have a good time with that. Sorry, Paige.
Oh boy.
What about you, Scott? Any of those, tickle your fancy?
The Shatner one. I would have to try that a time or two.
What about you, Pixie?
Shatner. Speaking of, so did anyone chat? Nilia said that she would buy that and have her husband read it to her or play it for her for foreplay.
Woo! I didn't read that. Nilly, now we know more about you than we needed to know. What?
No, just go back and watch Star Dragons.
Paige, what do you think? Any of those you would buy?
I would buy the typewriter if it actually made the tablet typewriter more responsive, because I am a writer. And the writing on a tablet can be very tedious.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I would
how many downloads that sucker's gotten.
Yeah, I would, if it's more responsive or maybe even better spaced than an actual typewriter, than the built-in keyboard, then I think that I would definitely be interested in that. And if I had a choice, I would abolish the Cage Everything with all of my rage.
Oh man, I think I might have to post some stuff. Do you have an Instagram or anything that I can
yeah,
find you?
Paige, Paige, and the number 6. Page.
Oh, you
6.
heard it first here, guys in chat. Everybody, go get that Cage Everything and just go ahead for her Instagram.
I'm gonna be tagged in so many Cage pictures.
Give it to her.
I should write a crack.com article about it once it's done and follow up with those.
So we've come to the end of the evening. We want to thank everybody that has shown up in the chat and stayed in the chat. All 23 of you guys have been staying here the whole time. And we have a giveaway this evening for our November LORT crate. And that LORT crate, we want to thank all of our sponsors that have generously donated items inside of that crate. I mean, there's so many names. I'm not going to read them off. If you want to actually enter for next month's LORT crate, keep an eye on the website because it will go up. We're going to have various companies that are going to be donating items. It's going to be different every month. And the prize pool for this particular crate for November is over $500. And again, this is for charity, guys. Minimum donation of $5 gets you into the raffle for the LORT crate. I say that's a hell of a deal. This all goes to our STEM Education Scholarship Foundation. We're going to, put some kids into college for STEM. And if you don't know what STEM is, you need to go Google it. I'm not going to read it to you because you're going to owe me 50 cents every time I have to say it out loud for you people that aren't educating yourselves. So we're going to have Scott do the drawing. He's got all the names. Sent them over to him earlier. We had a couple late entries. We got you guys in there, and he's going to pull out the name of the winner.
I'm warming up.
Don't forget the disclaimer.
I've been training for this moment. I don't. Someone else do this disclaimer? I don't know what that is. What is that?
Yeah, Pixie. I don't know what that is. What's the disclaimer?
I don't know. Talk to Ian.
Ian, what's the disclaimer? Tell us. You got a mic.
Disclaimer that you have to say with all your giveaways now. This contest is brought to you by Ladies of the Round Table and Twitch TV and partners is not responsible for any, in any way, shape, or form for this giveaway.
Thank you, producer Ian. There it is. There's the disclaimer.
All right, now see, now you broke. Now it's like freezing the kicker. Now I gotta warm up. No. All right. Let's see. We're gonna draw. Got thousands of entries in front of me here, and drawing Remus.
Remus.
Right there.
So Remus only gave us his first name for the giveaway, but we did get your entry. We have your mailing information, and we will get this out to you. And we will tweet at you a little bit later and make sure everybody knows that you have won November's LORT crate. And you, my friend, have epic loot coming your way. And thank you very much for your donation.
And
the rest of you losers, try again for December.
Shriv, we already know his last name.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, it's gotta be Lupin.
Fail on my part. This is true.
It's a really cool crate too. I did an article on it and I did some research into it, and it's probably my favorite one that you guys have given away so far. Especially with the Steve Jackson game in it. You know, that it's, what is it, like, it's almost $500 worth of loot, isn't it?
It's over 500. It's
It's an
and there's a mixture
crate.
of obviously electronic items, which you're just downloading and you're getting game keys, and it's also physical merchandise that you can't get anywhere else. And the one thing that I'm very jealous over is our friend David Eddings over at Gearbox is doing a custom, and I say it again, a custom voicemail as Claptrap for your cell phone. I can't even get that. I would slap that dance on my phone.
Hey, but you know, to be fair, David will do that. Find any excuse to do that voice.
David, yeah, he does. He'll find any. You're right.
Is.
You're right. He'll answer the phone.
Yeah, he will. He will. You should, go to a launch party with him. He'll find excuses to do it there. Yeah.
All of your friends are going to be jealous when they ring. You know what? Your phone's going to blow up once they figure out you got it on there. So we're gonna be contacting you. You're going to give us the message that you would like Claptrap to read off for you. It can be as vulgar as you want it to be, or as friendly as you want it to be. It's up to you, my friends. But remember, after you get that voicemail, don't call me and complain that your family is having a problem with your little message, okay? Because it's yours. It's yours after it's done. So thank you, Scott, for joining us. Thank you, Paige, for joining us. And thank you, chat, for hanging out. Pixie, as always, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. And let's give our shout-outs. Let's start with Paige.
Hi, guys. Give my shout-out to, obviously, Ladies of the Round Table, who I've been doing a lot of work for this month. And this is anothercastle.com.
Awesome. Scott, shout-outs.
Well, first, hey, thanks for having me out. Now, I'm glad we managed to make this work this time. Last time my Skype didn't want to work, and so I fixed it by buying a new computer. It's funny. It just kind of seemed to be that way, because that's when Skype actually got back to me and said, well, what can we do to help you? It's like, I just bought a new computer, so that's not needed now.
Like a gamer would. That's how you fix that one.
No, I needed to get a new one anyway. I just thought that was a funny answer. But, yeah, seriously, thanks for having me on, and I had a good time. And, thanks to the audience and the feedback and the people that have been tweeting along as this goes. I hope that this was a fun show for y'all as well. Please, follow me on Twitter at OriginalPSP. I got a bunch of other links online, but I always stick them on Twitter. So if you're following me on Twitter and you're paying close enough attention, you'll find the links to everything else I do there. And if y'all are anywhere in or near Vegas this New Year's, after Christmas, come on down to SkillCon, hang out. Let's have fun.
I'll be there, wearing bells. We're gonna have some great people out there hanging out and doing some things that only happens in Vegas. So if you're gonna be in the general area, it's the only way to have a good time for New Year's.
There you go.
Producer Ian, throw up those Twitter links if you could, please. Yeah. Pixie, shout-outs.
So shout-outs to my duo partner, Mal. Always my favorite person to play with. Shout-outs to everyone who's here tonight, everyone in chat, everyone who joined us, Scott, Paige, Shriv. You guys were awesome.
Thank you.
And shout-outs to Phoenix Covenant. I've talked about this game a couple times. Make sure you're looking at their Kickstarter. Something really huge going on this weekend. A lot of people are going to be really excited. And shoutouts to Lacey Green Sex Plus. Really, really good YouTube channel with a lot of really good information, all promoting, sex positivity. So shoutouts to her. I was super impressed when I saw that. And thank you once again, Scott, for joining us and for drawing our LORT crate.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Scott.
Ian's saying that he kickstarted that project, so he's excited back there. You just made him geek out.
I did?
Phoenix Covenant. Yeah, he's excited. He's a gamer. Tabletop gamer. I'm going to give shout outs to our mods in the channel. You know who you are. I'm not going to name all of you all off. And your stream team, people for showing up and having a great time in chat. You guys are just talking up a storm. And I also want to give a shout out to my bestest friend ever this week. I'm going to plug a product over here, the Benadryl, for really being my friend and saving me some, money in Kleenex, because man, this weather is kicking my butt over here in the Northeast. This I'm not ready for winter. I don't know about you guys. Well, some of you don't have to worry about it, but the seasonal change is not my friend. It's kicking my butt. And we want to give some get well wishes to Nikki. She's out with the flu. Obviously, like we said, seasonal is not our friend. Hopefully she's feeling better. Send some chicken soup her way and some love on the Twitter, guys. And with that, roundtable out. Roll those credits, producer Ian. Dance it out, girls. And I know Paige is dancing because she can see.
So I feel like next time I'm going to bring my dog into here and I'm going to stick him up on my bed. And whenever you do that, I'm just going to turn around and be like, roll that beautiful bean footage.
Oh, we're having a good time.
Oh, the terrible commercial references. I have the worst jokes.
I've always been concerned about the bean commercials. The dog has the recipe. He keeps trying to sell it, but he doesn't get rid of the dog.